I'm able to have a full apartment that I could take anywhere. This is 120 square feet. In most people's worlds, this is extremely small. I don't think a single RV company comes anywhere close to build quality. Maybe EarthRoamer, but you're spending $1 million, and who's got that? Build it yourself. This was probably the biggest piece of anxiety for the entire build. This doesn't happen most of the time for anyone out there. I challenge anyone to find a 4x4 full-size diesel for anywhere close to that price. Hey everyone, my name's Justin and welcome to my tank Bronte. I always liked a life where every day was a little bit different. You didn't know what was gonna go on. As my mom would probably say, he's very comfortable being lost, and I am. But a late friend, she knew that she was passing away and she told me do all the things that I can't. So I built this vehicle to drive from Alaska to Argentina. This vehicle is called a Stewart Stevenson M1079. It just looks monstrous. It's 8 feet wide by 24 feet long. The M1079 is the classification for a communication shelter. So there used to be antennas in here, nerds with walkie-talkies. This is 120 square feet. In the van life world, this is very large. In most people's worlds, this is extremely small. When it came to picking kind of the base vehicle for my build, I spent a lot of time in very remote areas, so 4x4 was a necessity. The military, they rate these vehicles for 5,000 pounds at max off-road capability. So I'm able to have a full New York apartment that I could take anywhere. Plus, they're significantly cheaper. You could find them for $18,000 to $25,000 and they'd have less than 3,000 miles. I challenge anyone to find a 4x4 full-size diesel with that little miles for anywhere close to that price. So this was actually a budget build. I'm in this vehicle a little bit more than just a sprinter van off of the showroom floor, which is insane considering how much is inside this vehicle, where I could take this vehicle. It just made the most sense. I've been in this truck full time for a little bit more than 7 months. On my way up to Alaska, I was doing a mountain pass called the Telkwa Pass that's in northern BC. And I got to the top and I was drinking a strawberry milkshake next to an alpine lake. And that night, the Aurora Borealis was going over the lake. And I was like, I'm in bed watching the Northern Lights. Like this doesn't happen most of the time for anyone out there. This took me 6 years of saving and working full time in order to afford to do all this. And I wouldn't change anything about that. Yeah, I was younger when I started the process, but I learned so much through this. So my ability to stay off grid, to me is, that's what I built the truck for, and I knocked that part out of the park. Now where the magic happens, the front of the truck. So a massive winch, because I'm always the one that's recovering people. We've got a radio that's a 50 watt, which means that I can theoretically speak to another buddy about 50 miles away. The max we've tested is 25 miles. And for a little bit of class, the Jawbones, which I found down in Oregon. My whole drive down to Argentina, I'll be carrying an electric dirt bike. This is temporary right now. I'm gonna be putting a pack mule on the front to hold my motorcycle, and that way I can off-road as much as I want and have just no problems. Moving on to the driver's side, for me, one of the important aspects is safety when going across different borders. So Bob's Burger is my little bit of fun. So when soldiers come up, they have a little bit of a giggle. I've got my snorkel, which is technically the highest point for my river crossing. However, the military rates it for about 5 feet. Cooking, this grate, 100% I clean before using. I don't like brake dust on my steaks, but this is for my campfires. And then all the way at the back is storage for all of my parts, tools, everything that I'll need on the road. So if I have a breakdown, I've got everything to fix, as well as 2 little tools because they look adorable. Obviously the outside's a little bit more brutal than that really plush inside, but on the back of the truck to get into the vehicle, it takes 2 fingers to raise and lower the ladder. I've got my spare tire, which is on a hydraulic winch. All I have to do is press a single button, it drops down, and this is about 380 pounds. Any other way, I'd break myself. We got air conditioning as well as my diesel exhaust, and I off-road this extensively. One of the biggest things is departure angle. So my DOT bar, I can just lift up, and that gives me a lot more clearance for doing everything that I want to do. Now let's head to the passenger side. Starting in the back of the truck, main thing is gonna be the pull-out barbecue and smoker. Food is extremely important to myself. I take a cooking class in every country that I go to. Moving forward, we have the largest generator that you will probably ever see on a mobile home. This is a 15 kilowatt 4-stroke generator that I can charge 4 other vehicles along with mine at full power. One of my gas tanks, I've got another auxiliary tank on the other side. Each one is 48 gallons. So if you do that, 48 times 2, 96 gallons, I get almost 1,000 miles per fill up. We've got all of my reservoirs, an outdoor outlet. This is where my buddy usually charges his vehicle for shore power because I am daddy of power. Central tire inflation, so I can inflate and deflate all the tires while driving. And the most important thing is my crew captain, Bronte, who I've named the truck after. So on the roof of the vehicle, I have my solar panels. It's 2 410 watt panels that are actually meant for houses. It adds as a little bit of protectant from my AC unit, so it keeps it in the shade. It means I use a lot more power from my 15 kilowatt battery.
Today's the day I need to go refill my propane tank, and if you live in a tiny house or if you live nomadically, you know that it can be a struggle to transport these tanks when your ratchet straps look like this. But today should be a breeze thanks to this episode's sponsor, Strapinno, who've sent me a couple of their self-retracting ratchet straps. So let's try them out. These ratchet straps are self-retracting. That means no twisting, no tangles, and no time wasted. This is a 1-inch by 10-foot strap with a 500-pound working load limit and 1,500-pound braking strength. Just extend the strap, latch the hooks, tighten, and you're done. The setup only takes minutes, and the 90-degree handle provides easy release, perfect for when you don't have much clearance. And this is the 1-inch by 12-foot heavy-duty strap. It's rated for a 600-pound working load limit and an 1,800-pound braking strength. So it's perfect for heavier stuff like furniture, spare tires, and outdoor gear. And the 180-degree handle features a smooth auto-retract that rolls up effortlessly. Strapinno's retractable ratchet straps and soft loop straps are built for harsh environments where resilience matters most. There's no shifting and nothing comes loose, even on rough roads. So I gotta say, after trying out the Strapinno ratchet straps, I'm pleasantly surprised. These are super strong and versatile. I do recommend them. And if you're interested, you can check out the Amazon links that we have in the description.
What do you want? Oh, sorry. Come on in. Welcome to my New York apartment on wheels, dubbed Bronte. Cleanliness on the road is something that everyone kind of has a different opinion on how to do it. I take my shoes off here. All of my friends take their shoes off here. All dirt I can just wash away, and when I get inside the vehicle, everything's clean. Screens on all doors because I don't like bugs. Realistically, the largest shower you will probably ever see. I could fit myself and maybe 2 or 3 other women. On this side, we have more of the Mexican aesthetic. The whole bathroom, I was going more to loom, whereas you'll see in the rest of the vehicle, it's hard woods and a very different color palette. Inside here is my washing machine and dryer. It doesn't use that much power or water, and I finally figured out how to use the dryer without using water because that plagued me for a very long time. Mirror, because even though I'm a dude, I have to see if I look good maybe once every 2 weeks. All of my toothpaste, medication, stuff like that. Got my hooks, and all the wood inside of the bathroom is actually pieces of driftwood I found on my favorite Canadian island named Haida. The toilet slides out from inside here. At the very top, a max air fan, so a lot of people worry, like, what happens if you have to do your business inside your vehicle and someone wants to come in? Between this, my door, this door, it flushes out in like 5 seconds and stays really nice inside here and dries really quick. Now coming into the rest of the truck, moving into the living quarters of the truck is a masterclass in space utilization. The first point is where all the water is housed. Inside this pullout, every single connection is its own valve. So I can control every single piece of the truck from right here, turn it on, turn it off. I have my drinking spigot as well as my sink. Over here is my dishwasher. A lot of people make fun of me for having a dishwasher, but for 4 days worth of dishes, it uses about 1 gallon, which I've not found a single other way to use that little water to clean my dishes. On this wall, I have air conditioning and heat. And I have everything plumbed through this breaker right here, all the way through that box into the outside condenser. Upper storage, we've got a little bit of space for food, then a bunch of different towels. This is usually where I wipe my hands off and just keep extras. the largest window I've ever seen inside of a van. Actually, before I bought the van itself, I had a dream about a vehicle where the whole side of the truck opened up. And when I got the truck, I was like, how am I gonna do this? So this is a hurricane-rated Florida house window, double pane, internal blinds, full aluminum. It weighs about 400 pounds, and cutting an 8-foot by 3-foot hole on the side of a perfectly good truck, this was probably the biggest piece of anxiety for the entire build. It also has screens, so when I'm traveling through Central America, I'm perfectly fine. All of my outlets, you push in and out. Again, I wanted things that didn't just clutter all of my workspaces. A 2-burner stove, all of my drawers, they lock, they pulled out, they're soft close, and I store a whole bunch of different cooking equipment, full-size blender, rice cooker, air fryer. On this side, moving down, we have the generator start-stop, so I can control everything with that outdoor generator right here. And then the lighting, everything is dimmable, which makes it really nice. I don't really like overhead lighting at nighttime, so this is typically what I use. People, they usually like this cabinet because it's an L-shaped door that houses all of my dress shirts. I work as a mental health consultant, and I'm on Zoom calls with doctors all day, every day. So I gotta look presentable. Partly why this military truck turned into something as crazy on the inside as it did was because of my profession. Coffee is part of my morning routine. I make a maple latte. I like the flavor of maple more than I like the flavor of the coffee, but I like doing something right to start every single day. This is a company out of Colorado. It's all just manual, which I don't like buttons. I like a tactile feel of everything. More storage on this side, and all of my spices for cooking, since this is basically just a mobile kitchen. Coffee station, everything sits on the top. A place for my hat, because let's be honest, if you have a big hat, you need somewhere to put it. And when it comes to food, these are my favorite cabinets. They just slide out so well. I have all of my wines, my olive oils, all of my glasses here, all of my pickled snacks on this side, which you're just seeing the backside right now. This is for special people. All just slides in on soft close, click there to lock. And being that I'll spend 4 to 6 weeks outside of a town, not picking any supplies, I have a full-size French door fridge, which funny enough, I just had a bunch of French people message me saying they call this an American door fridge, which I thought was hilarious, and 2 freezers for all of my frozen beverages, chanterelles that I'll forage for, and I'm a pie guy, so I have 3 full-size pies in there in case any celebration is needed. On the top, this just pulls out, and this is, vacuum, paper towels, toilet paper, thing like that. People who really are into carpentry and wood, there's not a single nail or screw for any of my drawers, any of my faces. It's all done with joinery. I'm very big into craftsmanship. I looked back and I have about 2,600 hours in the build and about 800 hours in just research. I didn't know how to build any of this beforehand. My situation, I'm gonna be crossing very humid climates, so material was extremely important. All of my faces and cabinetry, everything is built with extruded aluminum, so it won't warp, it won't bend, I'll have no issues. I like a space that's very comfortable to myself. If it's cluttered, if it's ugly, I have a very hard time focusing with the amount of ADD and ADHD that are just banging around inside my head. So natural woods were where I knew that I wanted to go to. Everything was sourced for African woods because they're better with humidity and they're also tougher. I can do anything to any part inside this truck and it'll be fine. It needs to be able to take a pummeling because I do mountain passes in this truck. I do off-roading for 400 miles at a time, never see a paved road, and nothing is built to withstand earthquakes consistently. So design process was extremely important. I almost flipped my truck in Canada. The side of the road gave way, the whole thing tipped over about 5 feet. I came to the back after we got myself out. Not a single thing broke, not a single thing moved, everything was perfectly fine. And that's when I kind of sat back and was like, wow, I learned everything on YouTube University and kind of building hot rods as a kid, and it turned into something that I don't think a single RV company comes anywhere close to build quality. Maybe EarthRoamer, but you're spending $1 million and who's got that? Build it yourself. Now, sleeping situation. Again, utilization of space, masterclass. Oh, yeah. Whole thing just comes down, really slick, sits on top of the countertops, which are one of the pieces I still have to do. I'm gonna go with like a white quartzite, and then I'll get cushions made and have a table. On top of the bed is a 4 foot by 4 foot skylight, and this Happy Jack is strong enough to allow me to lay in bed, lift it up, and I'll just sit outside looking at the stars. Moving into the back part of the truck, I host quite a bit. In the van life community, it's very hard to find a space that's comfortable to be in. That's why everyone sits outside. For New Year's, I had about 7 people in here, and we were comfortable playing games of all sorts. Underneath this cabinet is my 100-gallon water tank, as well as my fly rod, some external pieces in case lighting breaks, pieces like that. Here is backpacking equipment, extra tools, spare batteries, and then I keep all camera gear and filming gear inside that cabinet. Music is super important. When you're by yourself a lot of the time, you end up spending hours just editing, having fun, talking with friends, and music in the background makes it a lot more comfortable. This fills up the entire truck like no other. I absolutely love it. And when I close all of the windows, people outside, they have no idea that I'm just in here rocking out. These trucks, if you ever saw one stock, it would be very different than this vehicle right here. The old owner was a master fabricator, and this was his pride and joy until his wife said, "We're done." So he sold it. This has a pass-through. It's about 4 feet by 3 feet. My fat ass has no problem getting inside the cab or inside the back of the truck. And inside the cab, I have a 2-person 12-foot kayak, my hand pan, seats, doing some work on the outside. So right now, a crane, as well as my main control for everything in the back. So I can turn on all lights, gray water tank, outdoor lights, inverter, everything while I'm driving in case there's any issue. The only time that I really do that is for water. If I'm off-roading, I turn water pump off. That way I have no problems in the back of here. We've got 2 stories of both clothing, books, kind of extra parts, which make it really nice because I can access all of this in bed and outside of bed. Moving over to this side, we get into power. So I'm running a 48 volt, 276 amp hour battery, which more or less is around 14 kilowatts, 14,000 watts. It is a single battery, twice the size as a Tesla Powerwall. This all feeds into my Victron system, which I have a Servo touchscreen control panel right here, everything behind this door, and I've kept it that it's breathable. That way, any sort of heat escapes. It doesn't get stuck with all of the parts. I always see them like underneath the bunk bed. They're all enclosed areas and you have a whole bunch of fans to keep them cool. I wanted the natural elements to help right there. In the beginning, I didn't know where I was gonna park, and I didn't know how I was gonna do this or that, and everything was more of a worry. All of that has melted away. So a big switch was just internal, was being comfortable in the unknown. I started in Alaska, I'm driving down to Argentina. I'm obviously in Southern California right now, so I'm thousands of miles into the journey already. But if that goes well, I wanna ship to Africa, drive the length of Africa up into the Middle East, Russia, Southeast Asia, and if that goes well, ship to Australia. So I figured that this vehicle I'm gonna be with for nearly a decade. Part of the reason why I'm going on this journey is to find a place that I feel comfortable in the world, whether that's, a piece of property in Costa Rica and make a little eco lodge, or the mountains of Kazakhstan and become a goat farmer. I don't know. This will allow me to basically drive across every single country, every single continent, and see where I want to put roots. But I won't live tiny forever. I'm very comfortable with this utilization of space, but eventually I like vaulted ceilings and be able to hear my echo. So time will tell. If you're into travel or if you're into design, I'm headed down to Argentina with a buddy, Harry Schoen. He's in a big Unimog. We'll be kind of filming and turning into a game show the whole way down. You can find me at Destination Daily on every platform. Again, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, happy to have you along because it's going to be a wild journey.